care is it's a medical care that interest is really in the quality of life of children and families. Without that of life expectancy, it's for children who have life-threatening, life-limiting diseases, lifelong diseases. And we provide an extra layer of support to the families, help them navigate the medical system, and pain and symptom management. So it's caring for the family. I always say that it's so important because, like, the whole notion of palliative care, support, caring, not thinking about life expectancy, transcends all cultures, and it's such an important thing for families and for all families, and encompasses all of it. So I'm the social worker, and I provide support. If there is, in the end, if there is because we take care of children throughout their lifetime, then so in the end, to talk about those difficult decisions that have to be made, if that's what happens. Hook them with community services. I attend family conferences and then help out families to talk about what they heard the physicians say and discuss that. If they need other services in the hospital, then there are those referrals like music therapy, child life. And I also coordinate with the other social workers in the hospital, other people who are working with them very closely. One of the things that I do that's different is that I have more time to spend with families, and so I can actually spend like an hour or so if that's what they need at that time, and coordinate with the referrals to community programs, and so yeah, we work closely together. I see myself like as the bridge between the medical team and the families, and so often they are reluctant to ask questions. For instance, at a family conference, one grandmother asked me, "Can I ask this question?" And I said, "Absolutely, that is an appropriate question to ask." And then just told the doctor, "This grandmother has a question," and encouraged her to do that. So so encouraging the communication between the medical team, and often families will say after a doctor has left, and this is not uncommon, they'll say, "Well, what about this? What about that?" And it's not uncommon for me to call a doctor and ask him to come back and give them a list of questions that the family has had. I think that the palliative care team's goal is quality of life, and whatever that means for the family. So coordinating with community resources and resources within the hospital, but also trying to get them home and having the best quality of life at home that they can have. Sometimes that means going back to school and coordinating with the schools, children, and letting physicians know what the children's wishes are. For instance, this one family felt that eating was the most important thing for this child, and that was going to improve the quality of her life. And it was meeting with the physicians and saying, the GI physicians, and saying, this is what's important. Mom knows what the risk can be, and let's talk about this. We eventually did. The other roadblock was the school. They said, no, we can't have a child who isn't eating very much. And so we went to the IEP meeting, and what I found was that the school just needed to know that there was another team who was going to be alert, was very much involved, and would protect them too. And they call me all the time, and I tell them it's going to be okay. And so this child is not only enjoying her food by mouth, she's also going to school. The family is happy that she is happy, even if this is going to shorten her life. But so quality of life can mean many, many things. Families are really frightened. A couple of times I've gotten in my car to go see and make sure, and that's all it took, was one visit to say you're doing fine and everything's going well. One of the things that families worry about is that their children will be forgotten, and Children's Hospital makes certain through this program that doesn't happen. And through that, we have support groups in Spanish, in English. We have a yoga bereavement group, and we follow families. I often tell people that I'm pretty good at planning funerals, and it's because I call them up immediately after death or while they're here in the reflection room, and we should talk about the reflection room. There's always a phone call from myself, a social worker who knows them well, or the chaplain. I know that families mobilize and are around and call and bring food, but I know that 2 months later that's usually a really crucial time when people disappear. And so that's when I start calling families. After that initial phone call, they may not hear from me for 2 months, although a dad just called me a month later and said, "You haven't called me yet." But I'll call them at 2 months and see how they're doing, see if they need anything. And if it sounds like they want to continue talking, I'll call them in another week. And with some people, it's an ongoing conversation. With others, it might be that one phone call. There is a letter that goes to them at 6 months, and another card at the year anniversary telling them, from the entire staff of the hospital, telling them that we have not forgotten their child. There are also programs like the Day of Remembrance. We invite them back to come back for something called Heartfelt Memories. So they create this memory bank and are encouraged to write all those things they are frightened that they're going to forget. They write it on a piece of paper, put it in there, and pull it out whenever they want. I had a phone call from a woman saying, "Purita, you send me all these things and I don't go to any of them. I haven't, although they sound wonderful, but I just want you to know that it feels good to receive your mail, and just didn't want you to think that I was ignoring it." So that made me remember that people want to be remembered, and they want their children remembered.